Hai Riders, apa kabar? Selamat datang di 76 Rider Podcast. Akhirnya saya Feni Liagik bisa kembali lagi menemani kalian semua di podcastnya penggemar Extreme Sport. Nyali aja gak cukup. Anyway, hari ini Feni bakalan ngobrol sama salah satu tamu spesial yang Feni yakin ya udah di request juga sama banyak banget dari kalian, terutama kalian para pecinta supermoto. Jadi clue-nya adalah tamu kita kali ini adalah rider supermoto internasional. Dia sudah memiliki karir yang luar biasa sekali di dunia supermoto dan juga dia ini juara supermoto Asia di 2019. Kemudian dia menunjukkan performa yang makin luar biasa di setiap race dengan kecepatan, teknik, dan juga pengalaman luar biasa yang dia punya. Ada yang tahu nggak siapa? Coba silakan ditebak dulu. Well, langsung aja kalau gitu, Feni akan memperkenalkan ke kalian semua yaitu Louis Cornish.
Was it time for me? Selamat pagi semua.
Selamat pagi semua. Wow, you still remember some Indonesian words.
Ya, sedikit saja.
Sedikit saja. Apa kabar, Louis?
Baik, baik. Kamu?
Baik juga. Saat ini Louis udah nggak stay di Indonesia lagi, so right now he stay in his country in UK, right?
Yeah, I'm back in the UK now.
You're back in the UK. I'm pretty sure you miss Indonesia a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I miss the food.
Anyway, Luis, I already know a glimpse about you, but I'm pretty sure our riders, that's how we call our viewers, our riders wanted to know more about you. So, shall we do it right now?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
So, Luis, can you please take us back to the start? Like, what first got you interested in supermoto and how did you decide to pursue it professionally?
My dad was always interested in motorcycles when I was growing up. So I must have been about 4 years old when I first rode a motorcycle. It was only a little 50cc Yamaha PW50. Um, and yeah, from that moment on, it was just a hobby. It was just for fun, something to do on the weekend. Um, the first time I actually touched a supermoto bike, I must have been about 13 years old. And yeah, this was because my dad, again, had another found interest in supermoto. So I started in motocross. And then, yeah, when I was 13, found supermoto. And yeah, we just raced supermoto for a few years in England. And yeah, I think it was my second or third year. I started winning races. So from that moment on, we never really pushed to be a professional, but I guess it just slowly evolved to get to that situation. So yeah, it's been a long journey. I'm now 31 years old, so it's been more than 20 years on a motorbike, more than 15 years racing. So yeah, I'm retired now, so life has slowed down a lot. um,
That's so cool. So it means like you really start from your early years. I mean, like the like that you have from motorbike. So, um, is your dad is your biggest influence or mentors, if I can say that?
yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously in the very early years, my dad is the one that's taking me to the track, um, teaching me how to ride a bike, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's very. I guess he's my biggest influence. Yeah, for sure.
I see. And how did your dad help you to develop your skill and maybe mindset as a supermoto rider right now, as a professional rider right now?
I mean, it's quite funny, really, because when I was about 13 years old, I was probably already faster than my dad. So I was still really quite young when I was quicker than my dad. So, but yeah, he could advise me when I was younger. He was just teaching me the basics, really. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily training when I was younger. I
Mhm.
was just purely riding for fun. So my dad wasn't really coaching me. I've never really had coaching. It's more been just like self teaching, I guess.
Wow, that's interesting. So, what was your journey like when first started competing in supermoto?
Okay, so it would have been God, it's been so long now that I might be a few years out, but I think it was 2005. Um,
2005, okay.
yeah, so I was 13 years old. Um, and it was the first supermoto race in the UK for children. So yeah, I joined this race. It was winter time in the UK, so it was snowing. So there was snow on the asphalt.
Mm.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible to be honest. But yeah, it wasn't. I didn't have like a breakthrough ride. It was just like I said. I did no training. We did it all for fun. So I think my first race, I was like eighth position, something like that. So um, and then it was year by year. I just like
Mhm.
made like small improvements to get to the. I went from the 85cc when I was 13. I think when I was 15, I was riding the 250cc, and then when I was in college, yeah, so I would have been 18. I was riding a 450. Throughout that process, just building my skills, and yeah, seeing where the sport can take me.
Wow, that's really cool. And now let's dig in more about your career and in film. I mean, out of all of your achievement, which will stand out as the defining moment of your career so far in film, and why?
There's been so many, to be honest, but
Yeah.
um, I had a really good result in the French Championship.
Hmm.
And I think anybody that follows Supermoto knows that the French Championship is like a extremely tough championship.
Yeah.
So um, for me to go to France, like as an English rider, so I don't know the track, you've got some kind of disadvantages like this. And yeah, for me to be able to go to France, race against the best guys in the world, and I think I finished third on the podium. So actually, surprisingly, my best memory isn't even winning a race. It was just to get a really good result. Like it meant a lot to me. Um,
Yeah.
of course, I spent um, 1 year racing in America, doing the AMA Championship. I've done the Spanish Championship, the European World Championship, obviously FIM Asia trial game. Um, so out of all of these experiences, I have like some highlights for sure. Like some of my favorite moments is from each experience. But I think the one for me that really stands out has to be the podium in France. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. But you already mentioned about your competing in the European Championship, in the French one for sure. But if you compare with the FIM Asia Supermoto, I'm pretty sure it will be different as well. The weather is different, the asphalt is different, and the challenge is different as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest challenge for European riders when they come to Asia for sure is the temperature.
The heat.
Yeah, the heat is just too much. Obviously, we have to wear the helmet, the suit, the boots,
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, it's pretty intense, and obviously we cannot train for that in Europe. Like we can still do our training, but we cannot simulate the Asian environment. So yeah, that's obviously a big difference. And I would say, in terms as a racer, if I'm if I'm going to Asia to try and like focus on getting a result,
Mhm.
um, for me at first it was a little bit less stressful than racing in Europe because when I'm racing in Europe, um, a lot of my racing was really at the top level. So it would be maybe 15 or 20 riders all within 1 or 2 seconds of each other on the lap time.
Yeah.
Whereas in Asia, the field is like not so strong. It seems to be that you have maybe like, five or six like really, really high level riders. And then behind that, the level drops off.
Mhm.
So for me, racing in Asia actually was like a little bit less pressure just because the level wasn't so high. And also, it felt like a bit more of a holiday, to be honest, because I got to experience the different culture. and the different climate. Yeah, it was just a great time really doing the FIM Asia stuff.
I see. So it's I can say like it's a different pace between Asia and Europe one, but yeah, but you got a huge victory in Asia supermoto back then, and yeah,
Yeah,
I understand that you say that like in here your competitor was not the riders, but it's more like the humidity, if I can
yeah,
say that. And
yeah, for sure.
apart from that, yeah, yeah, the weather, the asphalt, and anything about that. But when we talk about the race in particular or event in particular, do you still have a dream on competing in something but haven't had the chance of it?
In supermoto, probably not, to be honest. I feel like
Oh
I've
yeah, so
actually
you
done.
already get the all the tick.
Yeah, so for me in supermoto, the big events that you really want to do, there is Mete in Belgium. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this event, but every year there is a big race in Belgium, and consider it like you do the Haji and the Umrah, and you go and you travel to Mecca. This is like the Mecca, but for supermoto. Like every single year, everybody in Europe is
Mhm.
traveling to Belgium to do this race. So um, I've already competed in that race. It was a long time ago, but I have already done it. So it is like bucket list ticked off. Um, and also Supermoto of Nations, where you get the opportunity to represent your country.
Mhm.
Again, that's like a huge honor to me. So I think those two events, maybe racing in America is also like a little bit of a bucket list thing. Um, just to say that you've done it more than anything. So you know, like I've ticked off Asia, I've ticked off America, I've ticked off Europe. So it feels like as a career, I've done everything I really wanted to do.
Mhm.
So probably the one event that I would like to go to that I haven't been to would be a mountain bike event. Probably.
Wow. Okay, another two. And do you have a target? When will you overcome that?
Sorry.
So you already have two from your bucket list that you did not tick out yet. So do you have a target? Like when will you overcome that?
I don't know. It's just a dream. It's just a dream.
It's just a dream.
Yes.
Okay, I thought like
Yeah.
you want to do it like maybe next year, like because I know that you are really ambitious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
really know
like
that.
the thing is, since so last year was actually my last year of racing. So this year I haven't raced at all. I've just been living in the UK, working, doing like a normal life. Um, so for me, it's like I actually enjoy stepping back from the racing just for now, at least, because
Mhm.
the stress of actually the racing itself is really fun. Of course, like getting to race with your rivals and interacting with the fans, going to these events is really fun. But actually, the stress and the pressure of the behind the scenes with trying to find sponsors or funding your life from racing. Um, After doing this for so many years, actually, I was exhausted from racing. So this is
Mhm.
why these events that I said that I would love to do, actually, it's just a dream. Like I feel as if I'm finished now. So yeah,
So you have no plan you have no plan to come back to Indonesia or maybe competing in Asia again. So it's like finish for you.
to be honest, I would love to. Um, but as I was explaining earlier, it's just not so simple as that. There is
Yeah.
so much logistics involved, trying to find the bike, the sponsors, this kind of stuff.
Yes.
Um, so, like, of course, I would love to actually. I would do it tomorrow if the opportunity just popped up and I could go and do it. But yeah, for sure, I know it's not that simple. And yeah, I guess I'm just exhausted of trying to like chase that dream, because that's
Mm-hmm.
ultimately when I was living in Asia for that 6 years, living in Malang. Ultimately, I was just like chasing my dream, like I didn't have a normal job, So I just dedicated all of my time to my
Yeah.
training, to looking for the sponsors, looking for this kind of stuff. So um, that's why I feel like very content, like very complete. Like I've already chased my dream. You know, I had a
Yeah.
very my career was 10 times bigger than I ever imagined it would be, actually. So I'm very happy with where it is, and I guess just important to stay humble, I guess.
That's really inspiring stories from you, like because I know, like, I'm following you since your day one in Indonesia. I know, like, how you're growing in Asia as well, like a lot of that things. But when I ask you, throughout your career, you've traveled and competed in many countries. Is there a particular track or maybe venue that holds special significance for you? That's a lot.
Again, there's so many. That is the problem. That there is so many. There is so
Yeah.
many. But to be honest with you, I normally look for like a good track. Just as a racer in my heart, I look for like a good track. But sometimes racing in Indonesia, there was compromises where the track wasn't so good, but the event itself was brilliant. So, you know, there would be so many spectators and, you know, like a DJ, you know, like the
Okay.
trial game
The
events.
entertainment part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this part of the event like brings like another element to the race, you know, it's not just the racetrack. So I think that is quite cool. But I think for me, probably um I can't choose, I don't think. Maybe FIM Asia 2019, we raced in Palembang.
Hmm.
Um, I guess just because I had a good weekend there, I won FIM Asia in that weekend, and the track was brilliant. For me, it felt like a European style track.
Ah.
So to have a to have a track like that in Asia for me felt like incredible. Um, so yeah, I guess probably in Palembang. The place was actually Musi Banyuasin was the name of the town.
The name is Musi Banyu Asin.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, wow. Thank you for mentioning that. I never been there and I should check because you're saying that that was like in European, the track quality. So yeah, maybe I will go there next time. So it's
yeah, yeah.
Palembang. All right.
It would be
So
a great location for trial game asphalt, something like that.
2019. Yeah, I see. I get it.
Yeah.
So next one, you already had an experience in both supermoto and also motocross. If you had to choose between the two, which one do you feel has had the bigger impact on your career? I know supermoto, you say it, but motocross is also important for you, isn't it? And I know as well that you like mountain bike as well.
Actually, for me, probably I would say between supermoto and motocross, I enjoy
Yeah.
motocross more than supermoto. Um, just in terms of how much I enjoy the activity.
Mm-hmm.
Just because motocross is a lot more, for me, a lot less stressful. When I was doing supermoto, I knew that it was ultimately my career. So every time I was on a supermoto bike, I was thinking about my lap time, my performance, my bike setting, something like this. Um, but when I ride a motocross bike, I just ride for fun, like you know, just to release some stress and for my training a little bit. So I always enjoyed motocross probably more than supermoto, um, and I think that's also why I enjoy mountain biking because it's time on my bike away from you know everyday life, the stress, the pressure. Yeah, so I think the thing I love so much about mountain biking in particular is you can do it every day. You can get home from work, you can pick up your mountain bike and you can go and ride. It's really
Yeah.
really easy to go and do. Supermoto is a bit more intense, you know, and there's so much equipment. Sometimes you need a mechanic just to go and train. So I think I just prefer the laid back motocross mountain bike community, I guess.
I see. So if I ask you to choose, you cannot choose, maybe.
Well, I think supermoto, I have to be grateful for supermoto because ultimately my career came from supermoto. Um, but yeah, just for enjoyment, I'm going to say mountain bikes actually, just
Oh,
because it's
wow.
really, yeah, because it's really no stress.
I see.
Um, it's time with my friends, and for me, it feels that mountain biking is a lot more social.
Yep.
Like, obviously, when you're racing, it's you have the pressure, you have to beat your rival. Whereas when I'm mountain biking, I'm just riding with my friends. So
Mhm.
um, obviously when you're racing, you've got a helmet on, you're not communicating with each other.
Yeah.
But when you go mountain biking, you're communicating with your friends and the social element of mountain biking and this kind of stuff. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
I see. So you say that mountain bike is more fun for you to release all the tension, but is there something to do? Because I know in motocross, sometimes you train motocross because it helps you in supermoto, but is it like that as well? You train or you enjoy the mountain bike because it helps you in supermoto, like for example, motocross, it helps you to do the corner in supermoto, for example. Is it like that as well in mountain bike?
I guess there will be some translation of skills, I think for sure, because I had a bad habit actually of when I rode motocross, I used to sit down too much. And if you ever have coaching in motocross, they always tell you you need to stand up, you need to stand up all the time.
I see.
So I learned how to stand up from mountain biking. And then from my mountain biking, I took it onto my motocross bike. And then from my motocross bike, eventually onto my supermoto bike. So I guess there is some scenarios where it's true the skill can translate, but normally I'd say the skills are 80% different.
I see. All right. So at least we know right now. So anyway, riders, in between my conversation with Lewis, I also want to remind you guys, don't forget to subscribe to 76 Rider YouTube channel, or we say 76 Rider YouTube channel, and make sure you turn on the notification icon so you don't miss any of our latest content. And we have another option. If you prefer to listen while you're on the go, check out 76 Rider podcast on Spotify, 76 Rider podcast on Spotify. That way you can stay updated and join the fun anytime, anywhere. Don't miss out. So let's dig in more about Louis Cornish. So Louis, we talked so much already, but I still wanted to know more. Like, as someone who competes at the highest level, what specific bike modification or enhancement do you prioritize for better performance on different tracks?
So I would say normally when I race a 450. So there is the engine is already strong enough. You don't have to modify the engine. There is already so much power. So we just focus mostly for the suspension. Um, but I think there is so many variations for this because in Indonesia I was racing a 450 and a 250. Um, and because of my size, I was more heavy than the Indonesian riders. So the 250 was always for me too slow. So we
Ah,
focused with the 250. We had to focus on modifying the engine so that I could keep up with like Tommy Salim and these guys. They're
yeah.
so small compared with me. So yeah, I guess on the 250 we focused mostly to modify the engine, but with the
Mhm.
450 mostly on the suspension, like the handling side.
I see. But supermoto is more about balancing speed and control. How do you adjust your bike suspension and also tire to handle the transition between the dirt and asphalt section?
Oh Jesus, this is
It's too
yeah.
technical. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where to start or where to finish, but I know that there is there is so many variants. Like even
Yeah.
the air temperature is different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so if I'm racing in Asia, my tire pressure might be 1.9 bar, but
Yes.
in Europe it might be 1.6.
So speaking about the bike suspension, Louis, how do you adjust your bike suspension and tires to handle the transition between the dirt and also asphalt section?
So typically speaking, a supermoto track, especially the ones we have in Europe, are 80% asphalt, 20% off-road. So we just try and do more of an asphalt setting than the off-road. So um, you just deal with the bike being poor in the off-road to get the good advantage on the asphalt is the idea. But yeah, it can change track by track, obviously varying weather conditions.
Yeah.
There's so many factors, to be honest. You could talk all day.
Oh yeah, of course. I have time for you to talk about that. Anyway, it's been amazing hearing all about Louis' experience on the supermoto tracks, right, riders? The challenges, the victories, it's all so inspiring. But before we dive even deeper into the conversation, how about we switch things a little bit to have some fun, maybe a game, Louis?
Okay, sure. I'm down for that.
All right, I need to breathe a little bit. So the game called Trick or True. So it's like
Okay.
true or false, but we call it
Yeah.
true or trick. So you
Yeah.
have to provide me with two stories, and then after that, me and the writers will guess whether it's true or trick.
Okay, sure. No problem.
All right. Wait a
Right.
moment. But before you start, I will inform all of our viewers, all the riders right now. Jadi, di game True or Trick ini, kalian siap-siap nih ya, tulis di kolom komentar kita nih. Menurut kalian, apakah cerita yang diberikan oleh Louis, ada dua cerita, apakah jawabannya true or trick? Jadi yang pertama, misalnya Louis menceritakan bla bla bla. Satu, kalian tulis trick. Misalnya, kalau menurut kalian dia ceritanya bohong. Yang kedua, nanti dia akan cerita bla bla bla. Kalian jawab lagi di kolom komentar. Satu apa, dua apa, trikkah atau trukah. Nah, nantinya kita akan minta jawabannya tapi di akhir podcast. Jadi kalian harus ikutin terus podcast kita. So, right now, are you ready for your story?
Right, let's go. Let's do this.
Okay, the first one.
One time I was mountain biking in Bromo and I was riding down a trail called B29 and there was a steep section of trail and I was going really fast and I hit a goat on the
Mhm.
bicycle. So I hit the goat, crashed my bicycle, and we had to get an ambulance to collect me.
Okay, that's the first one. Me, I think it's a trick. Kalau kalian gimana nih riders? Menurut kalian trick atau true? Tulis dulu ya. Satu, kalian jawabnya true atau trick. Nah, sekarang Penny akan lanjut ke story yang kedua dari Louis. Okay, the second one.
Second story, right? So during COVID, there was no racing. So to make money during COVID, I was selling Mexican food to people in Malang using Grab Food and Gojek.
No, I'm pretty sure it's trick. I think both of your stories was trick. There is nothing, there is nothing were true. Ya nggak sih riders, menurut kalian ini mana nih satu dan dua ini trik-trik atau true-true atau true-trick? Jangan lupa tulis jawaban kalian kemudian send. Sekarang nanti akan dikasih tahu jawabannya sama Louis sendiri di akhir acara. I'm not sure like whether it's true or trick, but I think my intuition say that both of that are trick. You don't
Yeah,
reveal
I
it right
know.
now. Please reveal it later, the answer at the end of our podcast. So, guys, all you need to guess in the comment trick or truth. One and two, trick or truth. All right, now let's talk more about the safety gear. Before you already say things about the technical stuff in the supermoto now, I'm curious to know about the safety gear. So, as we know, supermoto is a high speed, high risk sport. So, how important is the safety gear to you? And is there essential pieces of gear that you never race without?
Oh, for sure. If I'm racing or even training, really, um, I always wear like the full protection. So that is your boots, your helmet, your gloves, and obviously
Because
like
it's
your
necessary, right?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. It was nice to see that people take safety seriously in Indonesia also because I've seen some places where safety isn't taken seriously, and it's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny at all.
No, no, it's not good.
I see. But with the advancement in safety technology over the years, have you noticed any specific improvements in gear, maybe like helmets or maybe protection, the suit?
Um, yeah, I guess everything is just slowly improving. So it's actually difficult to see a big improvement because the improvement is always so slow. You know,
Yeah,
like
little by
small
little.
bit
Yeah.
by bit. But yeah, when you say it like that, I guess there has been big improvements because I look at photos of when I was first racing and like that, you know, the helmet looks weird and the goggles are different and this kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So yeah, everything has improved, and I think that now it's affordable to get good safety gear. It's not too expensive now, so
Mm.
it's I think that's a good thing. You know, it's more available to everybody. I think when I was young, um, especially in the UK, there was only expensive options.
Hmm.
So nowadays, you know, you can get cheap stuff from China or
Yeah.
something like this. So
But
yeah, it's
is there a particular brand or type of gear that you've stuck with throughout your career because it gives you a performance edge or maybe better comfort?
um unfortunately not, just because of the way that sponsorship deals
I
normally
see.
work.
That's fair.
There is one brand in particular. It's called Forcefield Body Armor. They're a UK brand,
Mhm.
and they make like the back protection, like the elbow pads, this kind of stuff. They have supported me since I was 14 years old. So obviously, I recommend their stuff. I use it myself, so that's how much I trust it.
Mhm.
But I think for the Indonesian market, I really recommend the AHRS racing suit,
Uh-huh.
because I know this. I know it sounds like an advert,
Yeah.
but they supported me when I was in Indonesia, and it was my first Indonesian sponsor.
Mhm.
So this was my first time trying like an Indonesian product, and I was really
Yeah.
impressed with the quality and the safety of the suit. So yeah, massive recommendation.
Wow, thank you for telling us that because yeah, AHRS is really famous in here in Indonesia, and in terms of quality, it's you approve the quality. But I wanted to know like how the right gear can make a big difference.
I guess it's just um, to make the full package. You know that if you know you're safe, then that's going to make you more confident, and if you're more confident, then you'll be able to perform better. So um, I know that if it sometimes it's not responsible, but sometimes if I needed to
Hmm.
test my race bike, I would just put on a helmet and just ride it with my normal clothes. Um, Only just maybe in the street, not
Hmm.
going fast. Um, but when I did that, I remember the bike was feeling more fast than when I had my
Okay.
racing suit and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I think that it's like a mental thing as well. You know that if you're not wearing the correct stuff, it feels
Yeah.
faster. So,
Yeah. Because you feel safer. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
of
true.
course. Yeah,
But
yeah.
But have there been any situation where your safety gear has truly saved you from a serious injury?
Oh, 100%. I think maybe I'm unlucky, or maybe it's normal, and everyone that races has had this experience. But I know that my helmet has saved my life
I
maybe
see.
5 or 10 times. I don't even know because
No, I think
there
more
have
than that.
yeah, quite easily, because there is sometimes where you're wearing a helmet
Yeah,
and you have an impact and you are still unconscious. So
yeah,
obviously you have to think without the helmet. That's a big
yeah,
problem, you know. So um, obviously helmets are probably the most important piece of safety gear.
yeah,
Um, it's definitely saved me a good few times. So yeah, I guess the helmet is the one.
yeah, yeah. So I also want to encourage you, all the riders, like helmet is a necessary on or off the track. I mean, like when you go to the asphalt, when you ride a bike, even though you are not competing supermoto professionally, you have to wear a helmet. Like save yourself by wearing a helmet. Like simple as that. Well,
Yeah.
it's been an amazing conversation. But before we continue to talk more with you, Luis, let's take a short break right now to watch some of your best moments in this highlight video.
Okay, sure.
All right now let's talk about the evolution of supermoto. Luis, I need your perspective. How has the supermoto scene evolved since you started racing, both locally and internationally?
In the UK, I would say when I first started racing in 2005, 2006, I would say the sport was actually more popular than it is now. It's
Mm-hmm.
decreased. I think internationally, it's an increase. From what I can see in Indonesia, it's definitely increasing in Indonesia. I'd say Indonesia has the strongest community for supermoto in the world, I think,
Oh yeah,
by
the strongest
100%.
in the world.
Yeah, because Indonesia is the only place I've ever been to where you can go to the your Alpha Mart, Indomart, and you might see a supermoto bike, like a CRF 150 or something like
Yes.
that. It's the only place I've been to in the world. Like
Ah,
not it's normal to see a supermoto bike in Indonesia, but to see a supermoto bike in the UK is like, whoa, no way! Like you really don't expect
ah,
to see it. So
wow.
I'd say the sport has changed. Yeah, it's changed a lot because actually it's quite a small sport in Europe. So, the popularity it goes up, it goes down, but it's always quite a small sport. The actual evolution of the sport itself has changed a lot with obviously the technology with the bikes, different riding techniques being used now. It's the same as like MotoGP. The riding technique from 20 years ago is like no longer effective against like the new technique they use. So yeah, the sport is always evolving.
So the most potential for supermoto's growth in the world, you see it in Indonesia. But
Yeah,
what do you think the key factors contributing to the growing popularity of supermoto in here?
I think I think the reason maybe that supermoto is so popular and growing so fast in Indonesia is maybe the culture that you guys seem to really enjoy adrenaline, some kind of activity outside. Yeah, it's just a different environment than Europe for this kind of hobby. And I guess ultimately where everyday travel for you guys is on
Mhm.
motorcycles, you're the Yamaha Mios and the Varios, this kind of thing. So it starts even for the children to the people in the kampong, everything. Everyone is using motorcycles in Indonesia. So I think that helps to grow the community from like the very base. So because in the UK, the only people that are interested in motorcycles are like extreme fans, whereas it seems like
Ah,
everybody is interested in motorcycles in Indonesia.
I see. I understand now the comparison. And now let's talk about your future. Looking ahead to the next year, what personal and professional goals are you aiming to achieve, both on and off the track?
All right, so on the track, I don't know. It would be nice to do some riding with my friends,
Okay.
but obviously, there's no plans for actually racing or anything like that. I would love to, but there is no plans. Off of the track, um, I guess I'm just trying to save money to buy a house. Yeah, just normal life, boring stuff, really. Nothing too interesting.
Okay, Luis, you keep saying since the beginning that at the moment you are off the track, but is this mean that it's your plan to retire full time from the racing professionally, or how is it? What's your plan?
I mean, to be honest, I guess there is no plan. I would love to come back. I think I will always have that passion for racing, for motorbikes. Like I said, it's mostly just the reason this has happened is just the stress and the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, currently there is no plan. But as I said, I would love to come back. So fingers crossed. That's what I'm going to hope. Fingers crossed.
Okay, so finger
Let's see.
crossed, and we will be waiting until you're back on the track, and we will be your cheerleader for sure. But at the moment, yeah, focus on yourself right now, and then focus on your adulting stuff, buying a house maybe
Yeah.
next year, and that things. So before we wrap up all of our conversation, I'd like you to give a tips for young riders, like maybe for young riders looking to break into supermoto. What's the most important piece of advice you will give them?
Um, I think have fun and keep it simple, um, and just enjoy the process. Don't take it too seriously. Um, I think one thing I've seen throughout my career is that it sounds harsh, but some people have it and some people don't. Like the talent.
Okay, yeah,
Um, and it sounds harsh, and I feel like the thing that you have in common, if you have talent or you don't have talent, is you can still enjoy it.
okay,
So for me, that's just my advice: is just to enjoy the process. Because if you don't have talent and you're trying to become a professional, then obviously you might end up losing your enjoyment because you're constantly stressed about your result, or you're constantly. Um, and I know for me, it was the same. It was the same thing actually. That when my racing became professional, I enjoyed it less because
yeah.
it was, stress. It feels like a job. So when I was doing it just as a hobby, oh, it was so much fun. So my advice for someone really is just have fun and enjoy the ride. See how it goes. See where it takes you.
Well, thank you for being honest to us. But looking back at your own journey, is there anything that you wish you had known earlier that would have helped you progress faster or maybe more smoothly in your career as a young rider?
Luckily, I think throughout my career in Europe and America, I had good guidance. So I didn't make too many mistakes. Obviously, I made mistakes. You cannot make everybody happy. I had some arguments and some fights and stuff. Um, I think most of my mistakes in my career I made in Asia, actually, because I was living by myself in Indonesia, and I was living in your culture, and that is such a big change, from my culture back in the UK to live in your culture. And obviously, I was living in Malang as well, so it's like a little bit more old school, a little bit more kampung, traditional. Um, so I think I made more mistakes living in Asia throughout my career, like not fully understanding your culture, your way of living, and because of that, making my own life difficult. Like I had some situations with some sponsors in Indonesia where the standard that I have and the standard that they have for doing business was so completely different. And in reality, all I needed was a bit more patience. In Indonesia, everything can be, sometimes it's today, sometimes it's tomorrow, like just
Yeah.
santuy. Yeah.
Santuy banget
Yeah,
ya tuh.
exactly.
Okay.
So
I see.
obviously that is Indonesian life from my perspective is very relaxed. And business in Indonesia can also be the same way. Sometimes it's tomorrow and this kind of stuff. Whereas in Europe, obviously the culture is a lot more, it's just different. And everything has to be like on time, like right now, yesterday, even, like it's very stressful and no one enjoys it, but that's how it is. Um, so I think if I understood more about your culture and your way of doing business, that would have helped me with my sponsors and making more deals actually while living in Indonesia.
Oh, okay. I understand your point of view. It means like we have a different pace. I understand that. Also like the working ethic in Indonesia between Indonesian and European is really different because before I also work with some of European boss. It's really different. Like it has to be punctual. Like when he
Yeah,
said like send it by 5 p.m., you have to send it by 5 p.m. Like yeah, I understand what you mean.
yeah. And I think like obviously I think there's benefits and disadvantages to both situations.
Yeah.
I enjoy the Indonesian environment, like the relaxed, laid back attitude. But then obviously you have to understand it when you're doing business that it also
Yeah.
is the same sometimes. So
Yeah.
it caused the reason I'm saying this is because in the first 2 years of living in Indonesia, I feel that some of my sponsorship contracts and some of my deals that I had, I probably didn't do the best I could have done because of my attitude. So, I hold my hands up, I take responsibility. But, I could have had more patience. I could have had a better attitude with my sponsors, I think, when I first moved to Indonesia, just because I didn't have the understanding of business in Indonesia.
Wow,
So, yeah.
I did not expect you being that honest to us. It's so wonderful. Like it's been absolute pleasure diving into your journey in supermoto. Like also you're trying so hard to fit in our culture. As you mentioned that you live in Indonesia for 2 years, hearing your experience and getting
It was six
valuable
years.
insight. 6 years, not 2 years. Oh
Six
my God.
years.
6 years, that's
Yeah.
so long.
Wong Jawa.
You should have KTP already. I'm pretty sure now you have KTP.
What this? No, no, no. I've just got the sim. The
Oh, you
Indonesian
already
driving
got the
license.
SIM. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. I feel like Indonesia is like my second home. Honestly, I miss it every day. I really do. But for sure, I'll be back. I mean, I came back to Indonesia last year. I know. No, what am I saying? About a month ago, 2 months
A month
ago.
ago.
Yeah, I came back to Indonesia, but literally just for a holiday, just to see some of my old friends and to visit Malang. We went to Bali, and I went with my girlfriend from England to show her like everything I was doing in Indonesia. So yeah, that was like a really great experience as well.
Yeah, she must have been mesmerized.
Oh, for sure, yeah, because England is like such a different environment, and then we're going to places like Bromo, Tumpak Sewu. It's like the waterfall in South Malang. There's just so many beautiful places in Indonesia. So yeah, I think I left my heart in Indonesia.
Oh, you will always, you can always get back in Indonesia maybe next year since you don't know your plan yet. But yeah, anyway, it's been so exciting chatting with you, Luis, and for all the riders as well. Of course, only 76 riders bring you the coolest guests from the extreme sport world. Anyway, before I say bye to all of the viewers right now, don't forget to give us the answer about true or trick. So the first one about the goat. Was it true or
What do
trick?
you?
I said trick.
No, no, that one is false. That one is false.
That one was trick. Okay, I knew it. Okay, the
Yeah,
second one,
that is true. That is actually true.
that is actually true.
Yeah, so obviously during COVID, there
Wow.
was no racing, and where racing was my only income, there was no way to make money.
So,
Um,
so you're selling Mexican food?
yeah, yeah, because cooking is my hobby, so
Yeah.
I was happy to do that. So it's a little side hustle.
And it's fun, yeah, like you enjoyed it as well. Maybe next time when you come back to Indonesia, I should try your Mexican food. I want to approve, like, is it okay or not?
I need to open a warung,
Oh
a
ya,
Mexican warung.
Mexican warung, warung makan Mexican. Wow, that's so cool. Ada nggak sih riders yang ngejawab sesuai dengan apa yang dikatakan oleh Luis barusan? Jadi nomor satu itu jawabannya adalah trick atau false. Nomor dua itu jawabannya adalah true. Coba Feni intip-intip dulu nih kolom komentarnya. Anyway, if you've been inspired by Louis' story, make sure to follow him on Instagram at Louis Cornish 8. Am I correct?
Yeah, true, yeah.
8. Okay. Louis Cornish 8, and stay tuned for his upcoming race and adventure. And yeah, for sure, we already said it all about his experience and everything. And don't forget, for awesome content, to follow us as well, to subscribe us on YouTube, 76Rider, 76Rider YouTube channel, and follow our social media at 76rider.id, Instagram at 76rider.id to stay updated with the latest news and interesting info. So, sampai jumpa lagi di episode berikutnya 76 Rider Podcast. Can we say it together? 76 Rider, nyali aja nggak cukup, oke? Okay?
Okay, yeah.
76 Rider,
Nelly aja,
nyali aja
gak cukup.
nggak cukup.